Welcome to Talk the Walk. I'm Sarah Wong. Buzzing scenes have returned to Hong Kong's restaurants and malls after dine-in hours were extended to 10 p.m. But with more than 5,000 of the city's 17,000 restaurants closed and tens of billions of dollars lost since the pandemic began, is the government doing enough to salvage the damage? And for bars and other entertainment venues that remained closed, will the lifeline come too late? Joining us today is catering sector legislator and Liberal Party chairman Tommy Cheung. He's the most senior member in the current term of the Legislative Council, and he also sits on the Executive Council as a non-official member. Welcome to Talk the Walk, sir.
Thank you, Sarah.
Now, with the relaxation of restrictions and the push by the e-voucher, give us an overview of the performance of the catering sector. Do the measures help much, or do you think it will take more time to boost consumption sentiment and change consumption habit?
I think, unfortunately, in the last week, I haven't seen business pick up too much, even though some of my colleagues are telling, oh, I can't even book a restaurant. But I have looked around certain areas, like Causeway Bay and Wan Chai. It's slowly coming back. Even the night business are not completely full. Obviously, some smaller restaurants, high-end small restaurants, the Japanese that does the omakase, which is very expensive, $2,000–3,000 per head, those are hard to book. But if you look at bigger restaurants that seats 100 plus, I'm still thinking that maybe Hong Kong people are still a bit scared to be, in places where there are too many people. And but definitely the e-coupon is going to help quite a bit.
Of course.
A lot of us are spending our money on retail because business is not open. I keep telling Hong Kong people, hey, don't spend it so quickly. Save it for my restaurants. And look out for the goodies we are going to dish out. Like last time we do discounted coupons. You pay them $1,000, they give you from $1,300 to $1,500 worth of coupon. All these, good things they're pushing out. So I believe this $5,000 we will be quite a bit will be spent with us, and also the next time around, the next 5,000, I think much more will come to the catering sector, provided we stay open for night business.
I mean, that's the point for the consumption vouchers, right? To boost consumption. Tell us more about what you've just touched on, the divergence you have witnessed between maybe some of the high-end restaurants and its local counterparts, which targeted mainly local customers. Do you see a difference of behavior and performances between these businesses, and why?
I do, because I think the smaller restaurants, I just mentioned the omakase, they seat 12 people, 20 people. So even for a table of 5, if you have different families, you can be seating different tables for 4, and you're so close. I mean, within the room, you can be talking to each other. So you would assume that would be safe. So I think the smaller restaurant, and for some reason, even the clubs, people believe that clubs are not open to the public. Even though like for Jockey Club, I mean, they're not open to the public, but we can always bring guests in. So a lot of people in Hong Kong have always felt in the last 2 years that clubs are safer to go to than restaurants. And I obviously think this is the wrong way to think about it. But that's how things work now. I hope my restaurants are doing all the things necessary. In fact, I think most restaurants, all the staff are vaccinated, not just twice, but even 3 times. And now with the vaccine pass, I think it is quite safe for you to eat in any restaurants. And with the social distancing measures still in place, together with the vaccine pass, I think I'm not worried to go to any restaurants.
Now, we have Food and Beverage Chamber Chairman Simon Wong on this program in January. That's right after the government announced that the social distancing measures will be imposed on restaurants. He said at that time that Food and Health Secretary Sophia Cheng kind of just brushed aside his request to be more lenient, to extend the evening dining hours to maybe 8 p.m. instead of 6. You sit on the Executive Council. How were your calls and demands received by the Carrie Lam administration?
Well, let me tell you this. One, I cannot tell you what is being discussed in next call. And two, I think most of you that know me knows that I fight the fight a long time ago. I was the one that said 2 years ago, I said you should balance economy with containing the virus. You cannot just go way off and say, oh, it is safe for you. That's why I shut everything down. I was the one that was dead set against, shutting restaurants down all day long, even though other countries do it. The government doesn't listen. They shut it down for 2 days and then decided that I was right, because you're forcing people to buy the lunchbox and sit in outside the toilets, public toilets, whatever. And in fact, that is worse off than if you let them sit in a restaurant and eat, when the whole environment, especially our air change and everything is done. So they lift that off right off the bat. But unfortunately, and I've been saying even 2-3 weeks ago, that when they shut us down, they do it very quickly, decisively. But when they open us up, it's always taking a very, very, very slow pace, which is something I don't like to see. But I'm one voice, and it's hard to actually convince all these what I call supposedly health experts, the things that they know everything, and shutting us down is the right way of containing the virus. I don't think so.
I want to talk more about that, but I wonder, you mentioned the lessons of suspending lunch dine-in services a while back ago, and that resulted in the scenes we've seen on the streets where people just sitting on the streets eating from lunch boxes, and that measure was suspended very quickly because of the public backlash. And I wonder, why weren't that lessons learned? And what do you think that it takes so long for the government right now to relax the restrictions despite the persistent advocacy from you and the catering sector?
They always think that even if I believe it's wrong, they think I'll say it, but that's not me. I really think that the virus will not spread because we open for night business. I think we can tighten it a bit, instead of 8, 12 people to 4 or 6. I'm not worried that opening till 10 o'clock for 4 people like we have just opened is going to cause the virus to spread more. In fact, I think restaurants is the safest place you can be, because one, our air change, and two, all our staff are vaccinated, and three, even the customers that comes in, all of you need a vaccine pass, starting in January. So that means if you walk on the street, jump on the bus driver may not be vaccinated, even though I think most of them are. But the people, in the bus with you may not be vaccinated. And the masks and all that may not be the appropriate mask. I don't know a lot of restaurateurs, because they all come to me and say, can you help me buy the antigen test? They were testing their employees, when they come into work, and asking them to do tests. And they're very cooperative, all the employees. So I think we're not just giving them one protection, we're giving them double, triple protection. And I think the government should actually look at and use us as an example to actually open up more restaurants. Even the restaurant in last November in the Festival Walk, it's not that they have problem with the air change. Unfortunately, all the air change, all the system is up in the ceiling. They say, oh, because you don't have air change, those machines down on the floor. I said, you so-called experts, if you are that smart, and you should have told us, not just air change, but we want some machines down on the floor level to help clean the air. Then that's another story, but you never said it. You only said 6 air change. And when that is complied with, then you say, oh, this time something went wrong because, no machine on the floor. But market, only that particular restaurant at one time. The rest are not caught and done, in the restaurants.
It seems like there's some disagreements between you and some of the health experts and advisors to the government. We'll talk more about that, but very quickly, I want to know that it takes Hong Kong a very long time to get the vaccination coverage to reach a sustainable level to sustain public activities. I wonder, shall that speed be quicker? Will that accelerate the reopening of restaurants and bars? And do you see an alternative of doing that without getting vaccination rate high?
Well, I have actually advocated mandatory vaccination months back. And I took a step back from that and said, even if you don't do a mandatory for everybody, can you do it a mandatory for 60 years on and up? Okay. And taking even one step further back, I said, how about the old people living in the nursery homes? Can we do mandatory vaccination? But the government wouldn't move in. They only try to entice people to do it. Now they're using restaurants. If you don't get 2 jabs, you don't get 3 jabs, you can't go into restaurants. Penalizing us. I don't think that's a fair way to do. But as far as restaurants are concerned, in fact, as far back as a year ago when we started having vaccination, I know restaurants that give employees day off and give employees money, even up to $1,000 if they take the first shot. We have done everything we can for restaurateurs,
Well, hold that thought and stay with us, sir. We'll be back after the break.